Hello and greetings, it's Lee. Well, my friend, and friends I should say, for this video I wanted to talk about, as the title says, about guides and angel spirit helpers and this sort of theme. First of all, a few things should be noted, and namely going to be that if you are somebody that is already sensitive to some form of spirituality, you've had an experience or two that is not readily or easily defined by common earth terms, or I always hate this word because it's tricky, but in a scientific way of physics, as it were. Well, let us remember always that spirituality is itself a science, because the word science comes from the old root word scientia, which meant, and to me still means, knowledge, and not the dogmatic faith-based science that is in existence now on Earth, but rather the whole shebang, the whole picture which is encapsulated. We come to terms with what is true and with what is believed, and various things we think are facts may not be, and various things we think are not may just be. So there is this sort of process going on within us. Now, all that said, as for guides and spirit helpers, angels, extraterrestrial, interdimensional beings, biological or other, they are certainly there, they are certainly available. And yet, I would certainly caution people that if you are someone that is sensitive for it and is looking for it, let's say you're the person that says, I feel truly that my heart is humble, my mind is with good intent, I wish to find my guides. I'm looking for truth, I'm looking for love, I'm looking for the light. In this mode, and to those, these are to those who I am speaking. As for those who want to get proof of things just for the proof itself, and not having the intention of, I'm looking for a guide, an angel, an extraterrestrial entity to assist me, or to discover who is already there, who already and was helping me to begin with. If we don't have this approach and we're just saying, well, prove it, that is accusation and denial. So if we have that sort of attitude and disposition from the get-go, it's going to be very difficult, because even though there are many watchers for this planet in various forms, various guises, and very many dimensions, this is a simple fact. Even though that is the case, if we're not approaching it in a certain way, then we may not get the best results, and we may not be in the position that we perhaps ought to be in. So this video, as for most of it, if not all my videos, are certainly for those who are looking for the love and the light and the truth. Now, as for angels and guides, I have my own, and you have yours. To what degrees we are aware of them or not is up to us to, in the first beginning stages, look for the signs. The noble intention is to say, I would like to find my friends, I would like to have communication, I would like to be open to the ways in which they communicate with me. They are not on demand. They don't come like this, answer me, help me. If we're very desperate and it's very needed in a very crucial moment, certainly they may do so. But for the most part, if we're channeling, if we're looking for signs, if we're asking for assistance, if we're looking for even a yes or no answer, if we're looking for the classic red, yellow, or green light, they may certainly give answers. We may think of it as a superior method, perhaps, to divination. People can think of tarot cards and casting runes and throwing the bones. These can all work very well indeed, and that's a guaranteed fact. But better still than those, in my humble opinion, is when you can get in contact with your guides and they can answer you in extremely direct ways. So, a subject with which I will have to choose a little bit of caution, because it's not necessarily for everybody right off the get-go. Not everybody is. There can be many people that are curious, but I'm mostly trying to make this video for those who are sincerely looking for it and open to it, and I already have the idea that yes, I must have an angel guide, I must have a good friend or two I would like to meet them. I would like to talk with them. A few people have written me the odd private letter, private message, and email asking about these things. So this is why I wish to address it. Now I'll just give a slight history, because what happens to one person could be the case for another. And so by giving you my example and giving my story in naked honesty and truth, as it were, then this way maybe you could relate to it, or have a similarity at least. Now when I first started getting into the mystic, it was basically a street prophet. It was an old gentleman who was walking down the street one night, and I was working a security guard shift, and I worked different hours, but at that particular time I did 4 to midnight, and sometimes I did 8 to 8, depending, but mostly it was a 4 to midnight shift, or else it was an 8 to 4 shift. But this is when I was doing the evening shift, not the overnight. That said, doing a patrol at the building I was at, then this elderly gentleman who looked like a street person, a pilgrim, he had a backpack and he was singing. Anyway, he approached me in this quiet moment, and it was a cool October night, maybe 7 or 8 at night, and he said some things about me that he could not have known unless he got it from a different source, because it was too personal, and he was a complete stranger. Now, saying that, after I spoken to this gentleman, then I started to be really aware of the ways in which we can say the God, the Creator. We can also say demigods and angels and various friends, various helpers can communicate with us. Because from that point onwards, when I was about 20 years old, I just turned 20, I started having a lot of things happen in which I was very aware. And I started having birds come to me and speak at very precise, perfect intervals and moments, even coming and squawking right into my face and going at exact perfect times in which I had asked a question. I began noticing the feeling of water fall on me when it was not raining. I felt what I had assumed were teardrops, or felt like little drops of water plop, plop, fall on me, even when indoors. And I said, is that an angel? Is that an ancestor spirit? Is that a friend trying to talk to me? They're with me right now, because I'm never alone, and neither are you, but it's about being aware of it. Not everybody is aware that they already have an angel or two, or a guide or two, a helper or two or more, even right now. And some of you will get this signification for that, even in the moment, and in the moments to come. When we're open to it, they're going to talk. Is a guaranteed fact. We are not this physical body. We are spirit, we return to spirit. We have many friends in different dimensions and on the other side, which I call personally the first side. Now, apart from feeling drops and things, soon I started getting pokes. An invisible friend would touch me. And in many cases it felt not like necessarily a finger, leaving an indentation on my clothing and on my skin, or putting a pressured indent upon my muscle, but rather it was a precise, focused point, a precision point that would signify, yes, that's right. I would just be talking in my head, doing a walk or doing something, and they started tapping. They were tapping even in this video over here, but tapping on walls, TVs, making lights blink. I started being very open to it, and again, here's the caution, is to make sure that if you're new to it, that you're not just talking to any spirit. There are a few tricksters, there are a few disembodied fallen angels that go around. There are some extraterrestrials who are bound to the planet, the ghosts thereof, as well as physical, who are bound to the planet, who can be tricksters, and who have some interdimensional abilities. They are not very powerful. There are many of those ones that try to give people fear attacks, sleep paralysis. And I've dealt with it for that for a long time. But the point being, when we are getting truth, and the truth is leading to honesty, love, light, and honorable things, when the heart is seen as having a noble intention, or as Carlos Castaneda put it, walking the path with heart, when we are doing this in naked humility and in the search for truth on honor and the power of loving, in holiness, and not the desire for power. Some people they get aced very quickly. They get a few experiences, they get one or two little experiences, and they go, oh, I have powers, I have friends. And they don't realize that it is their vanity and their ego that is now going to be victimized and abused. They're going to be led on a string and go through a whole series of events even, because their heart was not set on the noble intention. The noble intention is holiness, love, and truth. This is the highest vibration of the Isness, and of that there is no doubt. There is nothing that can stand up to it. When we are in this modality, trying our very best, we all have our past sins and our flaws, and even our little idiosyncrasies that are just cute little quirks that are not good or bad, they're just quirks. But if we're trying our very best for true enlightenment and to be innocent as much as we can, and that's our intention, and that is being realistic and honest to ourselves too, then the world of guides, angels, spirits, extraterrestrial helpers is very real. Now, I have recently become aware of the name of one of my guides, who was my I just felt something. Who is my prime guide, and I would say my very best friend and a soulmate extraordinaire for me. I'm not going to say the name of my friend, because it is personal to me. But this is called channeling and intuitive actualization. Now, if you're somebody that has a little bit of experience into the mystic, then you already understand some of these things. You've had some strange dreams and visions, perhaps. You've had out of body experience or two or more. You've had some things happen in the waking daylight that were unexplainable by so-called science, which again, that so-called knowledge is very limited when they're putting it in a box and calling it limited to physics, chemicals only, and this sort of thing. This is not the totality of science. Spirituality is a science. It is the highest science, as it studies the nature of being, not things. Things are the palpable things, form and categorized easily, but being is what we are and what we are of, and what is the very themes of life, right? Love, hope, fear. These things are on the being, of course. Now, when we're looking at the being, and we're not giving power and we're not giving authority to those palpable things, then we can easily get in nice communication with our friends. It is said that each person has at least 2 good guides. You may get in contact with them. You may become friends with one of them. You may have some that come and go. I'm not sure I want to say this, maybe it's embarrassing, because some people will have automatic definitions that were provided for them by other people, and they didn't necessarily research it for themselves. So if I say it, some people might have a stumbling block or be scandalized. But I have a few friends that are non-human and do not look human, and they're very good. These are truth speakers. The way that you can know if you are trying to get in contact to the other side, the way that you can know is to test the spirits. You must do this. See if they're leading you on the path of light and holiness and truth, or if it's feeding ego and giving you, because the beings of light, the angels, the extraterrestrial entities that are interdimensional, that are a level above us, who are in the body, they do not answer and do not serve us when we are being selfish. Yes, the whole world is being served. It's the parent serving the child, the adolescent, in the growth process. And God loves us no matter who we are, no matter where we are. But I'm saying, if we're getting into this echelon, this level of awareness and reality, and it is reality, then if we are not in a humble and honest modality within our being, then they do not want to assist us. They're going to put a stumbling block. Sometimes an evil spirit or a negative being will be allowed to come and trip us up. So we learn a harsh lesson and then get beyond that. These things are important. No, we have to all realize, my dear friends, that we cannot go from infant state to perfect adult like that, right? There has to be stages. Reincarnation is very true. We are not our bodies. We go through various stages, and as we grow and as we consciously become more aware, and as our hearts become bigger and more stabilized and balanced, mind and heart balanced, is the perfection of the yin-yang. There was a beautiful quote that I had read an old Hindu proverb that said, the longest journey is from the heart to the mind. Let the heart teach the mind. When wisdom has its basis upon emotional stability, love, honesty, balance of isness, we are very free, and that is called our enlightenment. That is, in the very least, our beginning steps to our enlightenment. One friend who had left a very beautiful comment on one of my other videos had said to this effect, that the beings that are up there have mastered compassion. Yes, if we can do it as much as possible here, master compassion, even for angry and upset persons and foul ones, as much as possible, they need their karma as well, and they will get it. Because each person must find in and of their own self, in the core, what is wrong and what is right. And not what I want it to be, but after being exposed to many things, I chose this path, I chose that path, and now, okay, despite my idiosyncrasies and the ways in which I went, now I see the way is one. But that takes lifetimes, and that takes planetary existence, it takes a lot of things, and that's okay. We have eternity to remember ourselves. Now, I don't want to get off topic, but I want to say a few tips. If you are someone with a noble, good intent, you consider yourself an honest person, someone well into the New Age, looking for enlightenment in the New Age, ready to embrace your higher self, we must remember that there are beings who are already there, they were there first, and they will happily love to talk to us. It's maybe a crude analogy or term, but picture like, and I don't want to necessarily say it this way, but picture like an elder sibling holding the hand of the younger sibling, or a person taking care of an animal, like a loving, and I don't want to say master or owner, but a loving person looking after a dog or a cat, for example. I'm not trying to say that it's necessarily that level of intellectual difference, but I'm saying we are being taken care of. We have caretakers taking care of us, but we are also able to caretake others. It's not necessarily for us to take care of them, but we can happily, aligning with the same theme of love and light, then perhaps try and help a few others. But we have to help ourselves first, so we are in a good mode in which to do it. Because if we're not tolerant and patient and loving and kind, then if there's still conflict in us, it can be hard. But I'll easily admit myself, sometimes I can be a little quick to backbite or a little impatient sometimes myself, and I have to ask myself, okay, if you could redo that conversation, how would you do it? So it's a work in progress, but our friends are there to help, and they're certainly around. They're talking to me right now, all over my house. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but anyway, the point is, we are very easily able to do it. And so here are some tips. If you are, perhaps it's best when alone, but maybe not. It's just about being able to be receptive and having the perception to be receptive to the communications. They can happily make noises. They love tapping on walls, TVs, lights. They often can very easily use a source of energy that is on or was just on, and because it still has energy there present, they can take that and then manifest it into a communication. They don't have to do that, but that is an easy way for some of them to do that, especially those that are not necessarily on the angel side or of the extraterrestrial dimensional variety. But even they can do that. But sometimes, by my saying all this, sometimes it's just an out of body, whatever that term means, regular human can use those methods to speak with us, but they don't have to. They don't have to. Lights can blink even if there's no power on. You're sitting in the dark. They can tap. They can touch you, and it's not done in. It's not about a negative spirit. It's not in a succubus or incubus. Although watch out for those too. But the way in which it will be, the good beings will communicate with us is it will always be polite, honorable, never, ever, ever invasive. They are not power trippers like the beings of the dark side. The beings of light are there to teach, guide, and recommend things and invite you and I into things. But they don't force us. They really respect our free will. They can overpower dark entities when it's time for judgments and sending them back into the central sun. So a dark entity can get their amnesia and restart the whole process. Nobody is destroyed forever. Nobody is put into hell forever. Never mind these political religions that came about by power-hungry persons. The real spirituality is based on the understanding of eternity. And there's all the time in the world to do it. Now, the beings of light, they are gentle and they like to be subtle. If they really have to be forceful, they will, but they don't like necessarily doing it to us. But sometimes they can go out of their way to talk with us. One time, I'll give you a very plain, lovely example, and this is also, I wrote this story in my book too, that my aunt, who passed away a few years ago, and she lived in British Columbia for a long time. One time she was driving home with her boyfriend, who is now my Uncle Tony, and they had, I guess, a truck or SUV at the time, and pulled into the driveway. But my aunt, for whatever reason, she tripped when getting out, for some bizarre reason. But before her head smacked onto the interlocking bricks, which was their driveway, she was caught by invisible hands 2 inches above the ground, and gently placed down. And she was in shock, and she was in awe and wonder. And that's a very nice way in which they can say, yes, of course we're here. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, if there's God and if there's angels, how come they let bad stuff happen? Well, bad stuff happens because a person chose to do something. Bad stuff happens because there is such a thing as a karmic lesson involved. But for all the bad things happening, we have to understand that there are as many good. But because our news is bombarded with bad news, here's a disaster, here's that happened, here's that scandal, here's that. We're not getting enough of the good news. We think, oh, the world's so negative. But this, my friends, we know in our heart of hearts that is not the case. The universe is good. God, Source, does not create bad, but gives allowance for all things, and all things will come to learn the balance. We are in a very beautiful reality and existence right now, and always have been and always will be. So as for guides, they are certainly there. They can be channeled. It is very good for us to try to do a meditation, and not to have a great expectancy, because there's a very fine line between expectancy and then a demand for something. Like, as in this, not saying you better talk to me, but I mean, sometimes our heart can get very heavy and disappointed when something didn't happen. But that is when we're being slightly childish or slightly, well, if we don't do that, I'm going to be crushed. But the thing is, it can't always come in the exact moment we want it, and or in the exact way in which we might hope. Because sometimes it's a little bit different. Someone can say, oh, well, I want to see an angel that is 7 feet tall with blonde hair and wings, but they don't have to necessarily look like that. So we can't have an expectancy where there's sort of a detail attached to it, to put it that way. Because the guides are who they are. They're very subtle, but they're very lovely. When we're in the right mode of perception to receive, of being receptive to receive it, then very easily it can be done. So these are my pieces of advice, is that be open to it. And do have a little bit of doubt. We can't say every little tick and talk, or every little sound, or every little dog bark or a car horn at the right time, and every little thing meant something, but nor can we say that it didn't. I've had experiences where it is undeniable, conclusions drawn, because I've had my invisible friends do things that's I didn't need a proof. I didn't need anyone's permission to ask for proof whether it was true or not. If they clap their hands and no one's in the house but you, or you're in a room, like one time, for example, I was in a room with my friend in my apartment in Chinatown in Ottawa, and we're just doing a meditation together, and then in the kitchen we heard someone clap their hands very loudly, but nobody else was there. So we said, that's an angel trying to talk to us. So there are such things that will be very evident. There are such things that will be subtle. They don't want to be over evident at the beginning necessarily. Subtlety is a better way, but then later on, many things can come which are very big proofs of things. Listen to your dreams. Often they will talk to you through your dreams. We all have dreams. We all sometimes forget, and even I forget, to sometimes ask for dreams. And here's a true story. Just a month or so, not even ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, a month, 3 weeks ago, I made a complaint. I said, you guys haven't given me any dreams in a long time. I would appreciate one for a little guidance, for a little fun, a little something. And shortly thereafter, within a few days that I said that, I started getting many, many, many dreams in a row. And they were all significant. And I said, well, thank you. We can look for them in many places. We can look for them also in the starry sky, because at any given night, if you have eyes that know how to see, you're not going to conjure up a definition that was given to you by somebody else. But when you're going to look for yourself with eyes that know how to see, you will see ships flying up there. You will see many things. But we also know that there are many things down here as well. But there is a connection. So, if you are a particular person who is interested in this phenomena of guides, angels, and speaking with them, I can only say so much because I don't want to necessarily put it out there for just anybody, and then I might create it by accident and not in my intention, a stumbling block for somebody. I don't want to feed anyone who, well, I want to know just because, or I want dark power, or serve the selfish me, or something like that. I'm not interested in assisting people like that too much, because if they're not open-minded and open-armed with the intention of love and light, then there's going to be conflict. Nonetheless, we'll leave a witness anyway. But as for those who are sincerely interested, those would be my closing words. Be receptive to it. They are there. They are there. They will talk to you. They want to talk to you. You can make the first step or two. Be aware. Don't be too shy. Be humble and be open and be in a beautiful mode inside. Be a little shy, but wait and see what happens. Because it can get very good, and we can develop it. It can get better with time. When I was in my early 20s, 21, 22, and it just was starting for me, I didn't have the same awareness that I do now. In the time of the writing, I'm 33. So there's been, 10, 11, 12 years of time to grow with my mysticism and my awareness. And also it's about memory. Things we already know that we forgot when we were born, and then we remember it again. And our friends come to help us remember it. So if you need any more tips, you can write me a private message. My book is also available, and I do talk about various things, all in one, making one big package. The demonic, the angelic, the extraterrestrial, reincarnation, many things, all culminating in a big package. My wife helped me recently do a new book cover for the book, and it looks a lot better, and the book title is shorter, and my wife's a master artist, so this is a masterpiece cover as far as I'm concerned. So I'll leave a link in the description for my book, which I hope is very, perhaps enlightening or relieving for some people, maybe. And in the least, maybe some people can just compare my stories with their own, say, hey, cool, I think I got you there. So, peace be with you. We must remember, we're not our bodies. If we are out of a body, picture that for yourself. If you were out of a body, how might you like to communicate with someone so that in a non-terrifying way? What subtle ways might you do to talk to them? And then with that, say, oh, well, how might my invisible friends, who are maybe not that exactly, how may my angels, my guides, how might they want to talk to me? Would it be the same? And then be aware of these things. Be open to it. And have a moment of suspense. Don't believe every little thing that you hear. Don't get set up. But for the most part, if it starts, and here's the golden rule, if there's a repetition of things and it's good and it feels righteous, and it starts happening often, and there's a pattern, and it doesn't feel evil or negative, behold, those were your friends talking to you. Guaranteed. So, a hearty namaste, and a blessed be to you, my friend. I wish you the best in your development of finding your angels and guides. I can't make the video too long, but I hope I said the general gist of it. As it is said, ask and ye shall receive, look and you will find, and they are there. It took me 11 or 12 years to get the name of my primary angel friend, so if it took me that long, maybe it takes you a shorter time. But the point is not to be disappointed, not to set up, like I said, a detailed dependency, or that if that. We don't want a sub-clause or something like that, just natural, beautiful mysticism. And it is a science. It's not sentimental daydreaming. It becomes a precise, accurate science, known to mind and to heart, to being. And that's a very good thing. Soul science is the next level. We are spiritually evolving, we are getting into this. The New Age is here. I wish you the best. I've rambled on long enough. If you require any further assistance, I may or may not have time to reply perhaps swiftly, but sometimes I do. So you can write me something. I'm happy to help for free. I'm also happy to sell a book if you're interested. I do have to make a living, but nonetheless, my videos are free. My assistance via emails are free, and I wish anyone the best of great success. Cheers, we'll catch you soon.